Hello and welcome back to Gary and Reaver vs. of the Devil episode 2. Jumping right back in, Morgan has been taken to this place which I notice seems to have some sort of force field or holographic sky. That's quite interesting. It was a quiet and uneventful drive in the back of the limousine. The privacy at least was nice. But with Abbott and Costello riding in the front, I had no way of getting information out of them, not even passively. So instead I spent the whole ride trying to play out all the different ways that this could go. I haven't liked any of them so far. I reckon, and this is inspired by a commenter, that I'm being called in to help because one of their people is being framed, was the one that Morgan framed at the beginning of the episode, the green-haired guy framed for the murder of the four Blue Bloods. That would just fit too perfectly. That she framed him, she didn't kill him, but she didn't speak, and is in a way, if that's the case, it's going to be very similar to episode 1, episode 0, which was all about Morgan trying to help someone who was believed to have committed the murders, the murder that she committed. But the difference is, these we actually saw, and she framed him deliberately. I suppose I should have felt relief or gratitude when we pulled up outside of an imposing skyscraper instead of an alley. I suppose it's a good sign that no one's put a bag over my head or stuck a needle in my neck. But I don't feel like celebrating. For all I know, they really don't have a clue about what I did in the lower wards last night. But for some reason, they've placed their attention on me. And there's little I hate more than unwanted advances. I'm also not a fan of being made to wait. What is that? A camera? Why am I just sitting out here? In here? We were too late. Only by a few min. He filled the time slot. Already? But we've got no chance of... Maybe if his other meeting went well. Are we on hold, gentlemen? In the world's most expensive waiting room. I like that I find it interesting that they're still both silhouettes. I wonder if that's deliberate. I mean, obviously it's deliberate, but I wonder if that's what they actually look like. I thought they just appeared that way because, there were strangers walking into a bar, but if that's what they actually look like. Quiet. Take it he's glaring behind those lenses, but I'm more interested in the sweat glistening on his forehead. So I don't think that's what they look like, because otherwise I don't think you should be able to see sweat. Somehow, the three of us, I'm the most relaxed. This is becoming embarrassing. Can I at least take in the view while we're here? You can take photos if you like, as long as you're quiet. Really? No, your phone won't work in here. Go figure. Okay. Admire. The illusion isn't unimpressive, I guess. Windows into the heavens sparkling like raindrops across a puddle. It might even be appealing if it wasn't trying to be something it's not. You look up and you see hexagons above you in the lower wards too. Rich or poor, people can't imagine themselves under an open sky anymore. Not even in their wildest dreams. Cool. Go fish? If I wasn't hyper aware of the flickering sky hanging above my head, this could make for a lovely watering hole. But these probably aren't real fish down there. Literal children are capable of keeping goldfish alive, so of course the 0.1%ers can't manage it. Maybe they'd spin it. When their pallid bodies float to the top because some idiot raised the water temperature 2 degrees, they'd certainly be easy to scoop out. If you're an impatient, undignified idiot, you could argue it's an efficient way to fish. I think the volume's gone up because it's quite loud. Yes, the volume reset. I thought I had to turn it down more in the edit. Right. What else? Read. Is it trying too hard to look unconcerned if I sit down and start reading the news? Maybe, but my boredom outweighs my apprehension at the moment. Not my fault that they failed to be sufficiently intimidating. PSS propositions City ahead of next month's convention. Next month, the city will play host to one of the most competitive political conventions in recent memory. with Senator Mathings expected to face significant opposition to party outliers. Wow, what a combination of things to say. Our contracted forces have world-class training in crowd pacification, preemptive de-escalation, and enhanced interrogation. Any subhuman scum who empathise with anarchists won't dare to leave their mother's basements. Clearly he didn't get the de-escalation training. Okay, this one was a relatively, not uninteresting. It's probably setting some groundwork for the world and stuff. But basically, there is a political convention coming up. The police are doing massive amounts of overtime and people are still like, there isn't enough security. Whereas other people are like, there's way too much security. We don't need all that security. Nothing's going to happen. Why would anything happen? I suppose it's less offensive than a bare advertisement or paywall, but why list your donors mid-article? Oh yeah, no, it did do that. Like, I just glazed over that, but it was like, White Adder, Fang, and Demico. Yeah, so that's probably what she means. All it does is makes my eyes glaze over. Whatever, I got the important part. The city's hosting that convention next month, putting pressure on the city council to vote on hiring mercenaries. Is because it said in that the candidate was selected 2 years ago, so it's going to be whether or not to bring in private security contractors on top of the massive policing budget. Makes a little difference to me. Cops and mercs have different quirks, but they all share the same blind spots. Cops and mercs have different quirks. I'll be just fine. Now, the average law-abiding citizen will put up with them clogging the streets for 2 weeks, though. Not like it'll be the least popular political decision made next month. Everyone knows Mathings will be the candidate. That was decided years ago. The contested convention will just be him finding a balance between how much public opposition he's willing to stomach against how many favours he feels like giving out. This country's already a circus without any bread. You'd think the least they could do is make the performances entertaining. Or was that in the article about cops dying in the lower wards anyway? Pretty heavy-handed to just make up that kind of thing, even when pearl clutching and pitching yourself at the same time. I've looked around at everything that caught my eye, and now I'm out of ideas. Everything except... maybe they don't know we're here. I'm going to try knocking. What are you... Hey! Before I get the chance, creaking oak draws my attention to the alternate entrance on the other side of the water. Okay. Oh. Hello. I guess that's the pin the other guys have, the Icaria pin. Also, is that an Icaria, like, pattern shirt? Stop staring and get a move on. That's the kind of man walking out of this place. Who's waiting for me inside? 409. Icaria Tower, residential floors. Grand Hall. Do you think this is the Icaria? I don't know. I'm just getting a bit of a vibe. Pomp and circumstance, ceremony and ritual. For some reason I thought the Mafia of all people would be a little more efficient in their execution. A little more honest about what they are. Evidently not. Artifice with every glance. Costumes and makeup abound. Is this disappointment? That even here in the supposed bowels of the underworld there's no escaping the etiquette of it all? She's the one? Doesn't look like much. Peons. Suddenly their posture stiffens even further, a true feat. Their necks subtly turn to a pair of doors in the back, each of them attuned to some signal I'm not receiving. Be still, the young master returns. Okay. You're late. Hold on, wait. Young master, sir, Everyone slow down. We came as soon as we found her, sir. Traffic was... This is just some sassy... I don't actually know if that is a reference to One Punch Man or if One Punch Man was referencing something with that. That's the only place I've seen it. A One Punch Man reference just seems really weird here. I hope they don't, just quick mention, I hope they don't start doing that a lot. Like, we've already got, like, the stepladder thing, and there was that other thing that I was fairly sure was a reference. I really hope they don't start making just pop culture references all the time. Silence! Yes, sir. What time were you told to return by? 4 o'clock, sir. And what time is it now? Permission to check my phone? You're late. You were tasked with finding one woman and bringing her here in a timely manner. Sir, You'll speak when I tell you to and not one word further, or else I'll have your teeth removed. By way of curbside. Is this a prank? Am I being recorded? He who wishes to fight must first count the cost. So says Sun Tzu. Please let this be a prank. And I don't think you can fathom the cost your tardiness has incurred. If the lead up to my execution is some kid reading from Art of War, I might just... What is the number one rule in this family? Timeliness, sir. When money gets wasted, it can be replaced. When time only goes one way, it's always running out. The loss is permanent. Every second wasted is a scar on this house's face. Timeliness is next to godliness. So say I. Oh, God. So if you two ever waste my time, the house's time again, expect to be dragged through hell. I'm already there. Now both of you get out. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Useless. You. Red woman, you're being addressed. Forget pride, I just want this over with as fast as possible. You're the lawyer, correct? You may answer. As fast as possible. I am a lawyer. Morgan, criminal defense, Mr... How should I address you? As all outsiders do, by my name. Makoto of House Ikaria. You, Morgan Criminal Defense, have the great honour of being summoned before me. Don't bother bowing. Once you start, you'll end up prostrated all day, and we have important work to do. Right. Out of an abundance of respect for your time, Makoto, I should let you know that I still have no idea what I'm doing here. Oh. I'll have them kneel on a bed of nails later, or some such thing. Mrs. Defends. Mrs., really? The house has need of your legal services. Oh. Would you give me a moment to clear my throat? I need to switch gears. An instant. Oh, actually, sorry, that reminds me. There was a flash in the previous episode, just like a thing that popped up of, I believe it was Sarah asking Diamani what differentiated House Ikaria from the other criminals, and it was obscured by a blood smear. Here it is again. This is either... There are two possible things I think it could be, and I think I'm leaning more towards one, although it doesn't make as much sense. It's either chi/blood, which... I don't know. I can't think of what else this slash thing could be here. Or it's child's blood. Like, that's grim, which could explain why it's sort of obscured, but I don't know if it fits as well visually. Right then, so you want to hire me? One of our own is being slandered by multiple homicide... Yeah, is this the guy we framed? Slandered by multiple homicide charges. You will defend him. You want to hire me, and I'm flattered, Makoto, but did you pull my name out of a hat? Pick a random page in the phone book? I have many books on my phone, libraries full of esoteric knowledge spread across countless tomes. You will have to be more specific. Sorry, I misspoke. What I mean is, this is House Ikaria. You must keep a small army of lawyers on retainer. Surely any one of them would be happy to help you. True, we have lawyers. Competent ones, expensive ones, and some who are both. But the best of them are all preoccupied. That's it? They're just preoccupied? Preoccupied means busy. Thanks. But I'm still not sure how my name specifically was... Do you have a customer survey you want filled out, Mrs. Defends? You were recommended. Does it matter how it came about? Normally it wouldn't matter. But when the client I'm recommended to is one of the richest, most well-connected families in the country, it gives me pause. I don't have any friends in high places. Oh, I knew she was going to say not anymore. That makes it hard to see this as a favour. Not when my employer doesn't even know my goddamn name. Of course, my apologies. No doubt you have other questions? Very well, I'll permit you to ask them. Such a gentleman. Go down the list, I guess. If I wasn't brought here because of what happened last night, then this is just another job. Meaning all of this, starting back at the bar, has to be their idea of a power move. Thank you for insisting that I get to visit your estate in person. It's beautiful here. An oasis of old-world sensibility amidst a desert of steel and neon eyesores, is what the house elders say. I've never seen anything like it. It matches your family's reputation for class. Ha! My family's reputation is power, not class. Take it a step further and guess you're renowned for violence rather than power. But that's a moot point. Violence can be classy. And from how this house is talked about in the headlines I read on the drive over, the nature of your family's reputation seems to vary greatly depending on who you ask. Some think you've got half the gangs in the city under your control. Others think you've left all that behind and are no worse than any other corporate family. Are you expecting me to ask you what you think? What I think is that I'll need some basic information if I'm to adequately defend your interests. We're financiers. You don't say. Lending, investing, taking over, buying out, the Icaria Financial Group was founded nearly 2 centuries ago. Loaning funds is high risk and high reward, but you can see our results speak for themselves. Profiles. Makoto. Such impudence. Really does imply she's asking these. Heir apparent, unemployed, student. Likes biographies Shogi and Amber. Dislikes tardiness, tarnish, and group assignments because student. Favourite figures Saladin, Sun Tzu, and Hannibal. Woe to the conquered. Wow. Building and painting models. Interesting. Icaria Financial Group, fancy way of saying you've got their start as mobster loan sharks. It's not impossible to get this rich with loan sharking alone, but it's such unsavoury work wouldn't get them into the ballrooms and boardroom tiers of society. You gotta rip people off with mortgages to do that. Is lending the house's only income stream? No. Through Aurea, our holding company, the house controls any number of what a civilian like you might call legitimate enterprises. And yes, we did found the Renegan Pharmaceutical Corporation, but what's past is prologue. Renegan? They're a drug company, one of the biggest. You're saying you've no relation to Renegan presently. The company went public years ago and Aurea divested our shares not long after. We were given 1 seat on the board as a formality. That's the extent of it. Given, a family like this only takes. Was he suddenly so humble? He doesn't know the meaning of the word. If he's downplaying their pull with Renegan, then the house must have a reason to want to distance themselves from the company. You're being very modest, Makoto. And more than a little vague. It's only polite. It's unnecessary, talking to your lawyer. You aren't my lawyer, Mrs. Defends, but you will be working for me. So you'll have to become accustomed to putting your needs second. He's deflecting, and if he's trying to be subtle about it, he's not doing it well. I doubt it's possible a company with as big a boot heel as Renegan has no relation to anything that happens in the city, but I'll drop it for now. I'm in no rush to wade into boardroom politics again anytime soon. Right, what was that thing we got? Renegan. Yep, big pharmaceutical company. One of their most famous things is an orally ingested treatment for diabetes, which is pretty cool. Makoto, I'd like to know a bit more about you, actually. How long have you I'm the only son of Raphael Ikaria and the grandson of Daisuke Ikaria, CEO of the Ikaria Financial Group, patriarch of this family, and chairman of the house. I gather that those titles are all one and the same. As one destined to succeed the headship, commanding the family's servants is my responsibility and my birthright. So if one of them needs a lawyer, it falls to you. When our loyal men, women, or their families need help, it is my solemn duty to ensure that they are well taken care of. And your age? What a boorish question. I knew that peasants raised outside of our stratus had little understanding of the finer things, but I assumed that one with a law degree would be educated enough to know what is and isn't appropriate to discuss. Just because I'm younger than some doesn't mean that I'm less capable of managing the people who work for me. Does it, men? Sir, no, sir. You definitely command their respect. That is no coincidence. One of the most frequently noted characteristics of great men who have remained great is loyalty to their subordinates. So says George S. Patton. That's so interesting. This is an important point. Perhaps another quote is called for. I don't think that's necessary. I'll grant you another. If soldiers are punished before they have grown attached to you, they will not prove submissive. And unless submissive, they will be practically useless. So says Sun Tzu. Basically, wait until people love you before hurting them. Back to back. Yes, the second quotation was called for in this instance. If only to emphasize to you that no one stays useless to House Ikaria for very long. One way or another. Okay, the manor. I'll admit I was a little taken aback to step off an elevator into your enclosure out there. The gardens? Yes, our groundskeepers work hard on them. Does the illusion of the sky come from a live recording of somewhere else? Or is it generated programmatically? That'd take quite the equation. It is impressive. I mean, it wouldn't. You know, like, I use a wallpaper engine to, like, have a loop of Skyrim, like the Skyrim sky on my desktop. So, in a sci-fi future where androids are possible, I think it is really not hard to scale that up, create a much longer loop with a much subtler sort of crossover, and then project it over the entire sky. I don't think you need to have an algorithm to change it, like, dynamically. It is impressive, yes. As for how it works, I don't have the technical minutiae in front of me at the moment. That's okay. Of course it is. A lion does not concern himself with the exterior decorations of the sheep. That one's a Game of Thrones reference. And I will allow that one, although again, I don't like that they keep making pop culture references. I will allow that one because it is a funny deviation of it. It's your exterior and your decorations. What does it matter anyway? If you want the specifics so badly, I'll have one of the servants put you in contact with the contracting firm. That's all right. Something tells me the consultation alone would break my bank account. The suits. I do appreciate the warm welcome, Makoto of House Ikaria, really. But legal consultations are usually more private than this. Are we certain we need the peanut gallery? Let it not be said that House Ikaria is not accommodating of its guests. We're more than capable of compensating for this nut allergy you allude to. That's so sweet of you. But do all the guards really need to be present for this conversation? If you're referring to the additional security, it can't be helped, circumstances being what they are. Circumstances? And if you're referring to my retainers in general, then I suggest you step back into the garden and take a deep breath. Clearly the city's fumes do not agree with your constitution. You must be lightheaded if you think you're worthy to hold a one-on-one audience with the next head of this illustrious house. He's a prodigy to be this insufferable at such a young age. Thank you for indulging my curiosity so graciously, Makoto. Conquer the stingy through generosity. So says Buddha. Correct. Perhaps your education is not quite as deficient as I feared. But I should make clear that in this case I was using the quote to simply imply that you are stingy with your own graciousness. Got it? Yep. Shall we move on? I believe you mentioned a homicide. Multiple homicides. 4, in fact. 1 with a sword, 1 with a knife, and 2 with a gun. Tell me more. My head of security was arrested by the police last night in the lower wards. They found him brutally beaten, drugged, and tortured. And instead of bringing him straight to the hospital, they arrested him for murder. He's been framed, and you must prove his innocence. That's funny. That's a funny picture. An instant. Is there something wrong with your voice? Is it that peanut allergy you mentioned? No, I just lost my train of thought for a second there. I'm not used to my luck changing this fast. One of the richest families in the city wants to pay me to prove a man's innocence for a crime I framed him for. Right then, may I ask why he was found in the lower wards? I get the impression that Icaria territory is generally positioned more vertically. This whole city is our territory. But it's true that our presence is felt more strongly in some areas than others. They captured him early yesterday. He was ambushed by cowards and dragged down to that stain of a neighbourhood to be tortured senselessly. Well, he was tortured, I can attest to that much. But I don't believe in senseless violence. There's always a purpose, and it's usually staring you in the face. People just don't like making eye contact. Do you have any idea why he was taken, or by whom? It was the Blue Bloods. They made no effort to hide it. In a worthy opponent, I might call that commendable, but knowing them, they're just too stupid to value deniability. I'm sure. And I'm sure there's no love lost between your groups, but kidnapping and torturing is beyond the pale, I agree. And the police are even worse. I expected no help from these incompetent fools, but these charges they're making, they're utterly ridiculous. Of course they are, but don't worry, I think they want to pin 5 murders on him. 5? Did you say 5? Yes, 5, it's absurd. I can only take credit for 4 bodies. Acting so high and mighty, so affronted, so eager to blame us for the death of one of their officers. A dead cop? Is this what those mercs were advertising themselves with? What do you mean one of their officers? Was there a UC or... No, they've made the ridiculous claim that he killed some uniform while resisting arrest. As if a member of our house would fear prison. I should have never dared think I got lucky here. These circumstances sound very complex, Marketo, and the police take the death of one of their own very seriously. What makes you so certain of this man's innocence? Because the man's name is Sasuke Icaria. The Hound. I've known him all my life. All 3 or 4 years of it. There is no individual more honourable, more devoted, more trustworthy. And not once have I ever known him to be... violent? Impulsive? Ah. He didn't do this. I know he didn't do this. But proving that is your job. About that. I actually haven't accepted the job yet, Marketo. But you will. If for no other reason than because we shall pay you more than you'll customarily receive for a contract. Considerably more. Not everything's a question of money. Yes, your meaning is taken. It needn't be silver and gold. You'll have no complaints with your compensation. The favour of House Akari can go a long way in this city. As can our wrath. I don't appreciate being threatened. I don't find it funny, even coming from a kid. However, if the state thinks whoever killed these 4 Blue Bloods also killed a cop, I can't afford to sit this hand out. They'll go over every centimetre of that building. One wrong move, one hair out of place. If I lose here, I lose, period. But if I win, throwing in a Icaria-sized wallet in the pot beforehand is all upside. I understand, Marketo of House Icaria. I'll take Sasuke's case. You say that as if it were ever in doubt. A true prodigy. But he might be right, maybe it never was. I chose to put that gun in this Sasuke's hands when I could have just plunged that knife into his temple. Maybe the line drawn from that moment to the razor edge I'm walking right now is perfectly straight. A line drawn from one point to another is always perfectly straight. Better metaphor would be a bullet's trajectory. For all the talk of wind resistance and breathing patterns and the Coriolis effect and chaos theory, you can't exactly act surprised when your shot lands right where the crosshairs were pointing. Morgan's my last name, by the way, before you start writing any checks. You should have enunciated.